It's Mako Tuesday. We are 1 month away from the 2026 NFL Draft. Of course, as always, every year, I will be live here on this YouTube channel and maybe even twitch.tv/Bengal. Link, as always, is down in the description. So make sure you are subscribed. We're going to kick things off with a 2-round mock draft today, and the Raiders going Fernando Mendoza at number 1, as is tradition. Now, as I said, this is 2 rounds. And I don't even like every pick that was made in these first 2 because there are a lot of players that I like that I want to talk about that I haven't been able to fit into these 64 picks. Like, it's tough. There are a lot of players. Like Keontae Scott is a player I like a lot. Couldn't find a spot for him in these picks. You know, there are a number of players that are like that. And I think a lot more receivers are going to end up going than what I had. I think there's going to end up being tackles that go higher than where I've put them. But we're doing the best we can here. The NFL draft at the end of the day is kind of a guessing game and a crapshoot. So we'll do the best we can and explain these picks as we go. There's some talk now about Mendoza not being QB1. Ty Simpson is QB1. I don't really buy that. I think Mendoza is the best quarterback in the draft. Who knows what it's going to look like in 3, 5, 10 years. But for right now, I like Fernando Mendoza, and I think he will be the number 1 overall pick. Moving to the Jets at 2. I really think it comes down to 2 players, either Arvell Reese or David Bailey. Just kind of depends what the Jets want. I think the versatility of Arvell Reese is going to be pretty valuable, but if you're drafting him at 2, you want him to be a full-time edge. It's just we don't really know if he's going to be able to do that because we haven't seen him be a full-time edge. Did a number of different things at Ohio State, played off the ball, like really played a true linebacker role. It was a quarterback spy, rushed off the edge on occasion. It's like you're gambling on the tools even though we haven't fully seen the edge rusher part of him regularly. So it's kind of a we'll see, but I think he's such a great athlete and really, really good at football. The play strength is unbelievable, which is not something you can say for a lot of the hybrid type players. He's truly a hybrid linebacker edge. He's not like one of the Isaiah Simmons of, is he going to play slot corner or safety, or can he even hang in the box? Reese can hang in the box, right? You're just hoping he develops as a pass rusher. Cardinals at 3. The more I think about this one, people are kind of going towards edge now. And if Josh Sweat indeed gets traded, maybe there is something to that. But I like Francis Mauigoa here. And I know not every Cardinals fan is on board. It's kind of funny. The teams that need offensive line help the most, and it lines up with a really good offensive lineman to help them. These teams do not want, and I say these teams, I mean fans of these teams that I'm seeing on social media, they don't want offensive line. Cardinals fans are not ecstatic about Francis Mauigoa, at least some of them. I don't really get it. He is a plug-and-play starter at right tackle. He's a really good player. Again, great play strength, and the movement skills are not elite. Like, he's not a truly elite top 3 prospect in most drafts, but he's the best pure offensive lineman. He could maybe even play guard if he can't stick a tackle, but I think he can stick a tackle. So there are guys that say, oh, he's going to be a guard. I think he's a tackle. He's more of a tackle projection-wise than Will Campbell was, in my opinion, and Will Campbell might just be fine at left tackle. Obviously, had a tough postseason, but we'll see. Mauigoa, to me, is a right tackle. I don't know if I'd play him on the left side, but he is a right tackle, and I think can be quite good there. As we get to Tennessee at 4. Another tough spot. Jeremiah Love's been popular lately, but I'm going to go Ruben Bain. I think Ruben Bain is quite a good player. Very good against the run. Powerful pass rusher. Obviously concerns about the arm length. Apparently his playing weight's going to be 265, not 280. So he's a true edge, and I think that'd be a good combination in Tennessee with Jermaine Johnson. You get 2 edge rushers that are really, really good against the run, and obviously can rush the quarterback a little bit. Bain, obviously, high-pressure guy. We'll see if he can convert some of those pressures to sacks. But when you talk about why someone might be a high-pressure guy versus a high-production sack guy, a lot of it is about bend and ankle flexion, and that's not really a huge strength of Ruben Bain's game. Now, you can say it's pretty good for someone that's 280, and maybe it even improves at 265. He's flashed decent bend at times, but he's not truly a freak athlete in that way. I think he's just rugged and powerful and a fun player to watch. Again, maybe not one of the top 4 draft picks in every single draft, but in this one I think it's entirely possible, especially factoring in positional value as we get to the Giants at 5. So the first iteration of this actually featured Jeremiah Love as the pick. Not that I'm saying I want that for the Giants, but it seems to be a distinct possibility. And if the Giants really want to run the ball, Jeremiah Love is the best way to do that. They've tried to improve the offensive line by bringing back Tremaine Illuminor, but really haven't done it by bringing in anybody that was not on the team last year. So I think guard is still very much a need. I think center is still a need. If John Michael Schmitz continues to play at the level he's been, you need a center. But I'm not sure that's going to be the case in this draft. I'm not going to go Jeremiah Love today, but I think it's an option. Cam Scatterbo coming off a major injury. Tyrone Tracy really being more of a change of pace type of back. Love can be the true, give this guy 20 touches a game. And I think that's what the Giants want to do offensively with John Harbaugh coming in. Love is an intriguing option, but I will be sticking with Sonny Styles for now. Micah McFadden's going to be a free agent, brought him back for another year. Brought in Tremaine Edmonds, but you need more than just Darius Mousau. I think Sonny Styles is not a bad option here at number 5. Really good athlete, really good size, really good against the run, does not miss tackles. I think it's firmly in play for Big Blue at the 5th overall pick. Browns at 6, I'm pretty much going to stick to what I've been doing, which is either Carnell Tate or Monroe Freeling. And we're going to go Tate today. And I think the option to take the first receiver at number 6 for a team that desperately needs one, keep him in state, I think he's got the best chance to be a wide receiver 1 in this class, like a true outside guy that can be, an 1,000-yard plus receiver. There's so many injury concerns with Jordan Tyson, and then you have the size and athleticism concerns with Mekhi Lemon. Tate, I think, is truly wide receiver 1 in this class when you're factoring in that he just doesn't really have those concerns that the other top receivers have. In terms of, a grade off film, I'm not sure he's the best receiver in the class. I really like Jordan Tyson. I really like Mekhi Lemon. I really like Tate too, but I don't think it's as clear cut when you're just talking about the film. But when you're talking about injury, size, athleticism, I think Tate is a cut above, and I think he could end up being a top 10, maybe even a top 5 pick as a result. Commanders at 7. We are going to go Jeremiah Love here. Receiver is a huge need. Edge has got a little bit better in free agency, and running back I think is still a big need as well. But outside of just need, it might just line up that Jeremiah Love is the best player here, and it has. He definitely is, in my opinion. And the Commanders could just go BPA and say, hey, we spent all that money in free agency on Odafe Owe and Kaylavon Chason, or we don't need to go edge at 7. Sonny Styles is not here. Caleb Downs may be in play, but I think Love is the guy if he's available at 7. He may not be. Could a team move up? Be interesting. Could the Giants take him at 5? Could the Titans take him at 4? All these things are entirely possible because the talent with him is just outstanding. At number 8, we have the Saints. Going to go David Bailey. They've really been looking for pass rush help for some time now, and David Bailey could certainly provide some of that, right? This is a big-time speed rusher who's been very productive, and I think the Saints team does not need to force themselves to go edge at 8 if the right receiver is available, right? If Sonny Styles gets here, I think those are certainly in play, but you do need more. Bailey, I think, could be the most valuable player here when you factor in how teams view him and also the premium position off the edge. It's just a good value pick. Like, is Bailey my number 1 player on the board here? No. I much prefer Caleb Downs overall as a player. I like Mansour Delane more. I like Kenyon Sadiq more, and that's just naming guys that are Mekhi Lemon, Ioane, Jermod McCoy. I'm not the biggest David Bailey fan, but I recognize if he goes to the right team and in the right environment, if he gets one-on-ones, he could end up being very productive. I just have some concerns about, okay, how good is he against the run? Are you going to have to take this guy off the field? And is he going to be good enough to be effective in the NFL? Those are the big questions, because I don't think the bend is outstanding. And speed's great, but if you can't, corner and get to the quarterback, there might be a bit of a question there. So, yeah, he ran fast. That's great. And, I mean, we've seen him use his unbelievable speed, but when you're beating up these random Big 12 tackles, it may be a little bit different when you jump to National Football League competition where these guys are bigger and faster, right? So we'll see what happens with Bailey. A lot of people love him. Could be the number 2 overall pick in the draft, right? But he's not one of my favorite players in the class, but I've seen flashes where I'm like, this guy's unbelievable. So I'm just looking for a little bit more consistency, and if he could improve against the run even a little bit more, that would be great. He was better in 2025 than he was in 2024 against the run, so there was improvement there in my opinion, but I'd still like to see more to have me feel confident in him being a 3-down player rather than just like a designated pass rusher. As we get to the Chiefs at number 9, I'm going to go Mansour Delane here. And you look at the Chiefs, they lost all of their cornerbacks for the most part. You know, you have Noel Williams, who I like. You have Christian Fulton, but you lost so much talent and depth with losing, you know, obviously Trent McDuffie, but Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams. I think Delane is firmly in play here at number 9. First corner off the board. I happen to like 2024 Jermod McCoy more than 2025 Delane, but with the injury stuff and not seeing Delane play since 2025, we haven't even seen him work out, didn't do anything at the combine. It's tough to say that, okay, he's going to be ready to go and he's going to be as good as he was. I'd like to see him locate the ball a little bit more. That was really my big takeaway from the film, is that, okay, in the NFL, if you're not turning around to find the ball, you're going to find yourself in some trouble. And we saw Jeremiah Smith take advantage of that, but that's Jeremiah Smith. It's kind of a different ball game. That guy's an animal. At number 10, I'm going to go Caleb Downs, just purely, again, on the basis that he may be the best player available. I think the Bengals have done a little bit to improve their defense, but there's still a long way to go. And he's just BPA, right? You're going to find a spot for him. He's going to play in the box. He's going to be very good. And the Bengals need a little bit more reliability in their secondary. I think they wish that maybe one of the top edge rushers got to them here, or obviously Sonny Styles, but it just didn't work out. But you get Downs, and that's not a bad consolation prize at all. Dolphins at 11. So I've gone with a couple of different things here before ultimately settling on a pick I've not done before, which is Spencer Fano. Receiver, I think, is in play. I think Kenyon Sadiq's in play in the receiver bucket. I think edge is in play. I think corner's in play, obviously. But Fano here, I think, is a good pick for a couple of reasons. The first being that the Dolphins have had such inconsistency with their offensive line over the past several years, and it's hurt their offense in general. I think this is a good safe pick because he's going to be a good player, I think. He has great movement skills. Like, I get the play strength is not exceptional, and the arm length did come back a little bit longer than what the Combine reported at his pro day, which the Combine measurements were just, it seemed like wrong this year. So the arm length is a little better than what the Combine said, and I still think he can stick at tackle anyway. The movement skills, as I said, are really good, but there's also a chance this guy can come in and play guard or even center. Obviously, with the Dolphins, you're not going to consider him at center. Well, I guess the Cat thinks that Spencer Fano would even be an upgrade over Aaron Brewer, so we got to take that into account. I guess I'm inclined to disagree with that, but yeah, Fano's got really like 4 or 5 position flexibility. He played left tackle at Utah before switching over to that right side with Caleb Lomu, but he could come in and play guard instantly on this Dolphins team. I think he could come in and compete to start at right tackle over the next couple of years. You look at Austin Jackson, kind of had an up and down career in Miami, and with his contract in the voidable years, you know, he is basically gone after this season anyway. So Fano, I think, is not maybe the biggest need for Miami unless you're going to start him at guard right away, but I think he might just be the best player here. I think the NFL is really going to like Fano. I think with his movement skills are his calling card. He's very technical. It's just the play strength is not elite. But I think that teams are really going to like this guy. And it's hard to not put him in the top 10 because I think that's the level of player that he could be, especially playing a valuable position of tackle. But there are not that many teams that I think would consider that right now. You know, I don't think the Browns are going to take him to play left tackle. And they have right tackle in Titus Howard, so I don't think that's really going to be heavily considered. You have the Cardinals, obviously, are a tackle spot. The Giants are not, after bringing back Jermaine Illuminor. The Commanders are not. The Saints are not. The Chiefs, I think, could be. even though their fan base really wants a difference maker at number 9, I don't know if that's the best way to build the team. They're so content on Jalen Moore being the guy at right tackle, even though he's never started more than 6 games in his career, and he is not under contract after this year. I think tackle is very much in play, but I also understand they need an edge rusher, right? Badly. They need to upgrade that pass rush. They need receiver. They need corner. They could potentially even upgrade safety. They lost a lot at linebacker with Leo Chanel, even though he was kind of up and down for the Chiefs as well, even though I think the talent is very good. But you get the point. The Chiefs have a lot of needs, and that has not really been the case for them for a number of years. They've had, great play from players drafted down the board, even though, I've seen fire Brett Veach, fire Andy Reid. They've done pretty well over the past decade. I think Chiefs fans, some of them, are getting a little bit spoiled. But anyway, not about the Chiefs. My point is that, there are not a lot of spots for Fano to go, but I think with his value, he's going to end up being locked somewhere around the top 14 picks. I think 11 is a place that makes sense. Again, when you factor in that the Dolphins have had so much inconsistency on that O-line, and Austin Jackson is whatever, and a free agent. Patrick Paul on the other side's not amazing either at this point, but still quite young. We'll see what happens with him. But yeah, I think Fano's just a good player to add in. And in a class that features a bunch of really good receivers, if you are not sold on Mekhi Lemon or the injury stuff with Jordan Tyson or Omar Cooper at 11, you can come back and get a receiver at 30 and still do fairly well there. If Omar Cooper is available, or Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, right? Like, there could be players at that spot where you can take a receiver and feel good about it. Maybe even, and I don't think so, but maybe due to the value of tight end, maybe Kenyon Sadiq even somehow gets to 30, or maybe he slips a bit and you trade up. Like, there are possibilities. You don't even have to be locked in there. Now, if you think about the Dolphins, I don't know that they should be trading up. Yes, they do have a lot of picks, as you can see somewhat on that side. But the thing about the Dolphins is they have a very bad roster in general. So you want as many swings as possible. So I'm not suggesting that they should be looking to trade up, even with those extra picks. But maybe decide that the right player's there. Like, if you're at 30 and there are a lot of teams that could consider receiver, maybe we'll say the Chargers, but, Eagles could. Browns certainly could, depending on what happens at 6. Bills certainly could. Niners certainly could. I think the Texans are kind of a possibility for a receiver if the right guy gets there. And then the Chiefs again, maybe this is a spot where you would consider moving up. But Fano is the pick for right now. There's so many different directions the Dolphins could go. I'm really opting to just take BPA, and it happens to kind of align with the position of need as well. So we talked about the Dolphins for like 10 minutes at this point, but we're going to move on quickly to the Cowboys at 12. This is a 2-round mock draft, so we're going to be here for a little bit. I'm going Keldrick Falk, and I think Falk is an underrated player, an overhated player at this point in the draft. Everyone's so quick to talk about his production, which is not really super incomparable to that of Reuben Bain. He's also very good against the run, and he's insanely young. So when you factor in all these different things, the elite size and length, the very good athleticism for that size, yeah, he's not going to bend the same way that someone that's 250 pounds does, but I don't know that he's not as bendy as David Bailey, who is in that 250-pound range, even though Falk is significantly bigger. Not quite as explosive, of course, but also not the same type of edge at all, where Bailey's the big-time speed rusher. Falk is the big-time edge that can not only set the edge and defend the run, he can shoot gaps, and he can surprise you with his quickness at times. He does have a little bit of finesse to his game, and had like 7 sacks or so in 2024 if you really care about the production. It's not non-existent. He's shown the ability to get to the quarterback before, and that gives you a really high floor because of how good he is against the run. Now, I look at Dallas, and they bring in Rashawn Gary. I don't really care about that too much. We'll see if that's anything. But with Donovan Ezeraku on the other side, kind of a slighter, lighter guy, even though he's got long arms, he's a little bit undersized. For an edge rusher, can get pushed around a little bit in the run game. I think Falk gives you a strong side edge, and it's not going to be quite the DeMarcus Lawrence Micah Parsons, but it will be, Keldrick Falk, Donovan Ezeraku. It's going to be that type of combination of smaller, faster with bigger, stronger, and again, obviously very good against the run as we get to the Rams at 13. One of the toughest spots for me because the Rams don't really need a whole lot. And I really don't believe that they need a tackle. If the right guy's there, maybe the Rams could do it and say, we're going to prepare for the future. We're going to have some contracts coming up and injuries happen all the time. But I think people that are so gung-ho on the Rams taking a tackle really are not too familiar with Warren McClendon, who played great this year when Havenstein went down. He was very good. And obviously we're not really considering too much on the other side with Alaric Jackson. So I don't know that the Rams really need tackle. I've been pro receiver for them for a while at 13. I also do agree that linebacker is a position that could be upgraded. Obviously, it was corner forever. But I think receiver does make the most sense. When you factor in the age of Devontae Adams, and even outside of Devontae Adams, there's not a ton. Puka Nacua, obviously. Sometimes I won't mention something like that, and people are like, what about Puka? Yeah, no kidding, dude. But we're talking about who's that third option. Kanata Mumfield, Jordan Whittington. I think you need something else in there, especially for the future. I don't expect Devontae Adams to be a Ram beyond 2026 or 2027. Maybe it's a short-term thing, but in the draft, especially when you're picking high, and the Rams get to via Atlanta, you don't necessarily draft for need. You draft the best player there that can help you over the next 4 or 5 years of the contract. I think the combination of need and talent works pretty well to go receiver at 13 when you have Lemon, Tyson, and Cooper. I'm going to go Tyson today because all it takes is one team, and I think the upside of Jordan Tyson maybe is a little bit higher than Mekhi Lemon. If you're not too worried about the medical stuff, and there are reasons to be worried, but if you're not, Jordan Tyson is very, very good and in play to be one of the first receivers off the board, no question. Now, is he closer to receiver 4 or 5 than receiver 1 when it all, settles? It's hard to say. All it takes is one team, but between the torn ACL, the broken collarbone, the nagging hamstring injury that apparently is still a problem here months after the final game that he played for Arizona State, I don't love that. But all it takes is one team. He's incredibly talented and would be a nightmare for opposing defenses to contain with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. Very good player. Ravens at 14. I feel like guard is such a strong possibility here. Even after bringing in John Simpson, the other alternative at left guard is Andrew Voorhees. It is not amazing. Center, obviously a huge need. There's not one here at 14 if Fano doesn't get here and you're going to play him at center. So maybe you don't go Venga Ioane. Maybe you consider something else. You lose Isaiah Likely. What about Kenyon Sadiq? I've played around with this possibility before, but if you want to upgrade your receiving core in general, obviously the offense has changed because your former offensive coordinator has now taken the head coach job with the Browns, Todd Monken. So are you going to be running a similar setup with multiple tight ends? I think you could. Sadiq is a very good Isaiah Likely replacement. Like, he's not going to be the true inline tight end. I think he could do that potentially. He is a good blocker, but not exceptional. I think he's a good blocker for his size. He's not going to be able to block as well as the guys that are 260 when he's 240. It's just a very different build. You can be a willing blocker. You can have good technique. At the end of the day, 240 does not block as well as 260 when the technique is the same. You're going to be overwhelmed by bigger players in the D-line. So Sadiq would be really a receiver on this team. And I think with Andrew staying in line, you're obviously feeling pretty good about Zay Flowers. Rashad Bateman's a little bit too up and down, but you're paying him to be good. So you're hoping he's your wide receiver too. Maybe it's not a receiver at this spot if you don't go guard. Interior D-line's a need. Edge is absolutely a need. But I think Sadiq may just be the best player here and gives you a weapon in the passing game that, yeah, it's not a receiver, but it's a receiver. You know what I mean? So Sadiq is very good. I think he's got a wide range of where he's going to fall in the draft. maybe as early as 9, but probably the run starts at 11 or 13, right? 14's in play, 15 even with K. Dotton still in play, right? If you're looking for a pass-catching weapon in the pass game, that's Kenyon Sadiq. Now, could he fall to, 30? Maybe, right? It's hard to say, especially a tight end, but I think the talent is overwhelming. We've seen these tight ends get drafted really high lately, and a lot of them have had pretty good success and early. So with Loveland and Warren kind of hammering that home last year, Sadiq, I think, is in play to be a top 15 pick pretty easily. Whether or not that happens, bigger question, but he is a weapon in the pass game for Lamar. 15, Tampa Bay Bucks. I've been getting pretty comfortable with Akeem Mesidor here. I just think it fits. The Bucks really need an upgraded pass rush. They've shown that they're not really afraid to draft older players before, even though he's old and has some injury history. The guy is very, very good. I mean, one of the best players in the draft based on film alone. Some other things like, his age, injury history, ability against the run, those things might bring him down a little bit. But if he was 22 instead of turning 25, he's probably a top 10 pick in the draft. I don't think 15 is terrible value. When you're looking for instant pass rush help, Akeem Mesidor is the guy. Jets at 16, going back to an oldie but a goodie, Mekhi Lemon. You look at the Jets, they've spent so much money in free agency. I think they fixed a lot of holes temporarily. So you're still just probably going to take a BPA approach. Get the best player you can. You're hoping it fills a need, but I don't think anyone expects the Jets to win the Super Bowl this year. They're not one piece away, but stupidly, I'm going to be slightly bullish on the Jets this year because I think they're going to be able to take away a lot of talent in the draft between picks 2, 16, 33, and 45, 44. They brought in guys that we've seen be very good. A lot of vets where maybe they're going to fall off entirely or already slightly have, but between trading for T'Vondre Sweat, I already like Juwan Briggs. I think Harrison Phillips is a good player. You bring in Arvell Reese. You bring in Mekhi Lemon. Adonai Mitchell maybe takes a step up. You get a healthy Garrett Wilson. You bring in Minkah Fitzpatrick and Demario Davis. I think those are players that are proven to be good. Whether or not they're still going to be is tough to say. Nashawn Wright, turnover machine at times. Like, you do need to upgrade corner. But I think there's some talent on this team. And there's a good combination of a ton of youth with also vets. And then their offense looks good. I don't like losing Elijah Vera Tucker, who obviously didn't even play in 2025 anyway. And I don't like losing John Simpson because he's good. But it's not the worst O-line in the world still. When you're going to start, Joe Tippmann at guard, even though I think I prefer him at center. You have your center. And then at left guard, you went out and made a move. Josh Myers, Dylan Parham, or Parham. I think it's Donald Parham and Dylan Parham, I'm pretty sure. And then you have Breece Hall back for another year. Like, the only real concern is quarterback. But I would argue the environment going from the Raiders to the Jets is actually very much improved. So could Geno be okay this year? Maybe he could be. He was awful last year, but by all accounts, that Chip Kelly offense was a nightmare. The offensive line was so bad, and there really were not a ton of playmakers. I think that's a big difference going to the Jets. They actually do have potential, and I think guys could be improving at the right time. Year 2, Mason Taylor. I don't know. I'm going to be fooled by the Jets probably because they are still the Jets. And, okay, play calling is going to matter a lot. Coaching is going to matter a lot in general. But I think the level of talent from the 2025 Jets to the 2026 Jets really should be night and day. Will it work out? No. They'll find a way for it not to work. That's almost a given. But just based on the talent on the roster, I might be thinking the Jets could be better than expected. We'll see. If their over-under for wins comes out at like 4.5 to 6.5, I might consider that the Jets could be a 7-win team. We'll see. Maybe that's bold. But we get the Lions at 17. If Monroe Freeling is there, running the pick, man. Arguably the best true left tackle in the draft. I mean, I think certainly so. Probably has the highest upside. You need to find a left tackle with essentially cutting Taylor Decker. You got to find one. And I almost think that's going to be the pick at 17 or higher if the Lions consider a trade up. You look at the Lions draft picks, they have, it's going to be cut off on your screen, but 17, 50, 118, 128, 157, 181, 205, 213, 222. Some ammo to move up. But you might be looking at a pick next year if they want to move up high enough. And you might have to go get Monroe Freeling. You might have to. Here, they don't have to. Not doing any trades today. Running the card for their starting left tackle of the future. At 18, have the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, Dylan Thieneman just makes a ton of sense. Harrison Smith cut. Who's going to play free safety? Dylan Thieneman. At 19, I think the Vikings probably took the player that the Panthers may have been targeting. And could that mean that the Panthers move up with a team potentially looking to trade back? And who could that be? Maybe the Bucks, maybe the Ravens, maybe even the Rams. Maybe definitely the Cowboys. I mean, you have some trade down candidates at 12, 13, 14, 15. So could the Panthers look to jump up all these teams to go get Dylan Thieneman? Maybe so. Or even Kenyon Sadiq? Maybe so. Or even Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon. Even though I would be surprised to see the Panthers go with 3 straight receivers in the first round. Receivers still a problem. I love Jalen Coker. Tetairoa McMillan obviously had a great rookie year. Wide receiver 3 is in question. Does Leggett take the step up? Unlikely, but maybe. Anyway, though, Panthers could be a team looking to move up. They've got 1950, 183, 119, 158, 159, 200. So 3 top 85 picks. If you want to go from 19 to 14, you may have to part with one of those, but we'll see today. Just going to stick and pick, and I've got him going Avion Terrell. I think Avion Terrell is incredible. Sometimes it's tougher to fit him in high in these mock drafts because he's just a little bit undersized as a corner, but man, if Avion Terrell ends up going at like 11 or 12, I wouldn't be incredibly shocked. I just think the talent is that awesome. I think he's going to be a good player. I look at the Panthers, and slot corner is very upgradable. Now, are you going to take a slot corner at 19? I think Terrell can play on the outside. Now, I know you feel pretty good about J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, but Terrell is so good. Play him in the nickel right now, and he can move to the boundary later. Cowboys at 20, going Jermod McCoy. Why Avion Terrell ahead of McCoy? It would be just fit with the Panthers. Also, familiarity with the area. Not too far of a trip from Clemson to Charlotte. But I don't think that matters a ton. It's a fun fact. Why not mention it? It doesn't have the injury stuff that McCoy has. I think there are some real question marks there. I love McCoy's 2024 tape. I think he's the best corner in the draft based off of that. I really like Avion Terrell. I think Mansour Delane's very good. I think these are good corners. McCoy, I think, has the best potential of all of them. It's just what version of him do you get? Do you get the 2024 McCoy and continue to build on and improve off of that? Or is this a guy where it's like, man, he looks different after the injury, and it's a little bit of a gamble. But the Cowboys have multiple first-round picks. You went with, I think, a safe, reliable player at 12 who may never be one of the best in the league, but is, I think, a high-floor player with his ability against the run. And at 20, you kind of swing for the fences with going for a homer, trying to upgrade at corner, and with a super exciting playmaker in Jermod McCoy. At 21, have the Steelers sticking and picking, obviously, and going Vanga Ioane. Everyone's sticking and picking in this mock draft, but Ioane is really good. You lose Isaac Seumalo in free agency. He's plug and play. He's such a talented player, and I think there's a really solid possibility that he goes higher than this, but here he happens to be available at 21. Chargers at 22, going with TJ Parker. I think, again, everything that the Chargers showed in free agency says that they want to upgrade edge in the draft, and that might be what they're zeroing in on with their first pick. I think guard certainly in play, interior defensive line, I totally get it, maybe even corner in there as well. But TJ Parker, I think he's had a really good offseason process and could solidify himself as a first-round pick. Edge is so valuable. We might see Edge fly off the board, depending on where Cassius Howell, Zion Young, R. Mason Thomas, Malachi Lawrence go. I like Derek Moore quite a bit, actually. Gabe Akis is a big fan favorite. Kieran Crawford. Jayshawn Barham, I really wanted to get into this mock, and it just didn't end up happening. Maybe I changed some things on the fly. I don't know. But TJ Parker, I think, is maybe... When you factor in, like, age, size, production history, and then offseason process, might be the best edge here. Howell's got big size concerns, but obviously has been quite an impactful player on that A&M defense. 2025 was just fantastic for him. Eagles at 23. I'm going to go Caden Proctor. I think the Eagles just need to plan for a life without Lane Johnson. Proctor's got really good potential. Fantastic combination of size and athleticism. Developing as a player, no question, but he's got tools you can't teach. Browns back on the clock at 24. Went with simply no way to know. Carnell Tate at number 6. And at 24, we're going to come back and go with Caleb Lomu. You're drafting for a left tackle here. So is it going to be Blake Miller? Is it going to be Maxi Inachor? Inachor is a really, really good athlete. So maybe there's a thought he could move over if you don't have to play him right away. But Lomu's like pretty good to go. He is a solid player. Kind of similar concerns with Fano for me, where I'm not sure if he's really a people mover with great play strength, but I like his ability to move in and of itself. And I think the Browns looking for that left tackle spot. Caleb Lomu is one of the better ones in this draft. If you're talking about true left tackles, I mean, it's him and Freeling. Outside of that, I mean, who's going to stick at left tackle? Markel Bell? I mean, it's just not great. We just did not see what we wanted to see from Isaiah World this year. But Lomu is, I think a good, safe option at 24. At number 25, you have the Chicago Bears. I'm going to go Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I understand the defensive line needs work, but, you lose Kevin Byard. You bring in Kobe Bryant. You lose Shaquan Brisker. I think McNeil-Warren is a good option to join this secondary. And I like him than the alternative at, 50, whatever, 57 and 60. So in a class that should have some pretty good defensive linemen get to those picks, I'm going with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren at 25. Bills at 26. How about Omar Cooper Jr.? Chance he goes even higher than this, but if he doesn't, no-brainer selection for Buffalo. So good after the catch. Really, really talented receiver. He's made some big plays for Indiana. Niners at 27. We are elevating an edge up the board quite a bit. Malachi Lawrence, combination of size and athleticism is elite. Production's pretty good as well. I think the Niners could be looking for edge help, especially after Bryce Huff announcing his retirement in shocking fashion. Texans at 28. Going to go with Cade McDonald, first interior defensive lineman off the board. Guard and center are needs, but I think bringing in Wyatt Teller, bringing back Ed Ingram, maybe doesn't force you to go guard here at 28. You still could, but you opt to take this great defense and make it even better. And a giant space-eating interior defensive lineman like Cade McDonald, I think, is good value here at 28. I think the problem is I do not know where these defensive linemen are going to go. That counts for the edge rushers, but especially so for the interior players, because you got a lot of question marks with all of them. What's the pass rush going to be for McDonald? Big men with feet injuries. Not great at all. And that's what you're dealing with Caleb Banks. And he didn't really play very much in 2025 due to injury. So what are you going to get with him? Freak size and athleticism. How many games a year are you going to get that? Can he develop? Because there's also like wild inconsistency on his film where sometimes he's getting bullied, sometimes he's doing the bullying. It is kind of a mixed bag. Peter Woods, not a great 2025. I still love the potential. Can I lock him to the first round? No. Kristen Miller, hey, real solid player. Maybe not a first round prospect. Lee Hunter, consistency and pad level and pass rush, but he's big. Grayson Halton, probably not a 3-down player. Big Citrus, nose tackle. Now down the board here, I like Darrell Jackson. I do. The size is absolutely elite. Now, with being so big, there are natural pad level concerns, but I think he's quite a good player. A lot of people like Rayshon Benny. Didn't really play very much before this year. You can see the snap count here. This was his first time playing over 400 snaps because you were dealing with some really good Michigan interior defensive linemen above him, like Kenneth Grant, like Mason Graham, obviously, but he looks pretty good. So can he go from rotational guy to bona fide stud starter? We'll have to see, but he's very much in the second round picture probably. Corleone, the Godfather, is probably just an early down player, to be honest. 6'1", 335, but we'll see. And then there are some guys that, okay, could they be a fun pass rusher? Like, is Caleb Proctor not in the Omar Norman Lott type of role? And now I'm talking about the Chiefs. That's why I bring up him, but also smaller, faster interior defensive linemen. But if we're talking about that, I like Grayson Halton, but would I rather just have Penn State's Zane Durant? Maybe so, but not at 29, clearly. Early on, we went with Mansour Delane. I think tackle could be a position of need here, but edge, such a concern. I think Zion Young fits the mold of what KC values off the edge. You look at the Steve Spagnuolo edge rushers. There's a certain build to them. You pretty much need to be 260 pounds. Zion Young does meet that criteria. He's a big-bodied edge rusher that's good athlete. He's a good athlete. Didn't phrase that well. But has good potential, can play the run. And I think the Chiefs really swung and missed on Felix Onyedika-Uzomah. But Zion Young has the potential to come in and be a starter over Ashton Gelati at some point. And there's just not a lot there. So you go into this draft, again, there are a lot of holes for Kansas City: wide receiver, edge, interior defensive line, even with bringing in Kairos Tunga, corner, obviously safety, linebacker. Like, there are a lot of needs, right tackle to me still. But we'll see which direction the Chiefs end up going. Dolphins back in the clock at 30. Let's go Denzel Boston. Big-bodied outside receiver for Miami, but could he be a power slot type of player? I think that could be kind of fun. Malik Willis needs somebody after trading Jalen Waddle. Like, Malik Washington can't carry this offense on his back. Devon Achane, same deal, but not a receiver, even though he catches a lot of balls. Boston is somebody that can play on the outside, maybe can even play on the inside too. And you're hoping he's going to be the safety net for Malik Willis. We're just throwing up to Denzel Boston, and hopefully he comes down with it. Patriots at 31. Going to go Cassius Howell. I think, you've seen some success for smaller edge rushers with Mike Vrabel and the Patriots and also Tennessee. I guess Harold Landry is the one that stands out. But Harold Landry's arm length is significantly longer than Cassius Howell and is probably a little bit heavier than Cassius Howell. But it's a similar mold. Howell is so explosive, and I wouldn't say that the arm length is that big of a concern when you watch him, but how will it translate against bigger, longer, faster offensive tackles in the NFL? That's going to be a big question because sometimes Howell's a win quickly or not at all type of player, and that's a little bit concerning to me, where, yeah, the effort isn't the worst, but it's like it takes more than effort to beat, some of these NFL tackles. Like, I could try for 20 straight minutes to get to the quarterback on, an NFL tackle. It's not going to happen, right? You got to be able to have skills that translate. Obviously, Howell's a better pass rusher than I am. There's no question about that. But I do question, okay, when you talk about what is he going to do against the run? What is he going to do when bigger offensive tackles land hands on him early? I don't know. So he's going to have to really get these guys oversetting to work that inside move the way he did in college. And if he doesn't have that same level of top speed to threaten vertically on every rep, he's not going to win very much. So we'll see. Is he a designated pass rusher? I'm kind of inclined to think so. Or is he a guy that can be a 3-down player and finish with, 50 to 70 pressures a year? That's what you're hoping for, or higher, obviously, but it's going to be tough to be in that range. Seahawks at 32. Going to go Colton Hood. You just factor in what they lost in free agency. Kobe Bryant, obviously, but Reek Woolen. Hood's, potentially in play here to start at corner soon, because you have Eamon Warrior that kind of plays the slot, but Witherspoon sometimes does that too. You have Josh Jobe, that's clearly an outside guy, but Hood eventually is going to, I think, grow into that role and also offers you way better depth. You got an injury to Jobe or to Witherspoon, that secondary starts to fall apart pretty quickly, in my opinion. Jets in the second round. Going to go Brandon Cisse. Just think corner is such a big need, and Cisse has pretty good upside. Good in man. Obviously, you'd think so with the great athleticism. Still developing, of course, but has some really fun traits like size and speed. You look at the Jets, cornerback certainly is upgradable. Cardinals at 34, going to go Ty Simpson. I still think he's going to end up being a first-round pick. It's just a matter of where. Do the Jets take him at 16? Seems early. Do the Jets trade up to get him? Do the Cardinals trade up to get him? Is there another team that fits that profile? Like the Browns. Could the Browns take him at 24? Could the Browns trade up from 39? I don't know. But there are teams that need quarterback, and quarterbacks often go high as a result. Simpson has had stretches where he looks great, and the size is not the worst. I think my big concern with him, apparently he's playing injured, right, but the ball placement down the stretch was just really, really bad, and it really looks like he can't drive the football with ease. He's somebody that has to put his entire body into each and every throw when he's actually trying to throw with any type of velocity, and I wonder, okay, if you don't have, a perfect platform, how's that going to look? And you can say this for a lot of different quarterbacks, but Ty Simpson was really at his best when he got to his back foot and the ball came out pretty much immediately. Is he going to be a guy that can improvise and make some of these tougher throws against pressure? That's a question mark to me. But you look at the Cardinals, I don't think Gardner Minshew stops you from taking Ty Simpson if he gets there at 34. Titans at 35. Going to go Casey Concepcion. I think there obviously is enough talent for him to go in the first round, but there are some questions about not only whether he catches the ball the way he should, he really claps it in there sometimes, or the injury stuff now, where he had a minor, apparently, knee operation, but it's still a knee surgery. Does that, stop him from going high in the draft? Maybe it does, but he sneaks in around 2. Could be good value for Tennessee that I think could still look to upgrade wide receiver. Concepcion can win on the outside despite having what you'd consider to be, slot size, sub 6 foot, sub 200 pounds, I believe. So it's just, how healthy is he and what is he going to do in the NFL? I think he's so good after the catch, can make an impact as a return man, but also can win on the outside, can beat press, can threaten vertically, and I think can win over the middle too. But Wandale's going to be your slot guy. Maybe you're looking for a bigger bodied guy, but you do have Io Manor in the mix. You do have Chimere Dike. Calvin Ridley's back, right? But I do think receiver of the future needs to be considered. And I think the Raiders should definitely consider that at 36 as well. But this is where I might think about changing something. Because I had a receiver here. I had Chris Bell, who I like a lot. But I think with the value on the tackles getting here, I think I might opt to go in that direction and then pivot on the fly to some of these other teams. And, you look at the Raiders' offensive line, as bad as it was last year, they've tried to help with Tyler Linderbaum at center, and that's great. I still think tackle's a pretty huge need, and you're looking for a right tackle, and Blake Miller or Ian Achor, I think, are good options here. Ian Achor has maybe greater potential. Miller is probably the better player right now. I think you're hoping Charles Grant can develop, but he's not a starter right now, right? You still have Delmar Glaze, DJ Glaze. I'm thinking I'm going to go Blake Miller here. I think I'm going to go Blake Miller because, and there's a chance he goes in the first round, maybe even a lot higher than this. I'm just looking for more consistency across the offensive line. It's so valuable, and I think it'd be hard to pass on him or Iheanacho if they get to the Raiders at 36. So got to make some changes on the fly now to see what happens after that. But Chris Bell kind of makes it easier for me because his injury might stop him from going the first 2 rounds anyway towards ACL late in the year, but I just love him as a player. Just have no idea what the range is because there's a report that maybe he can sneak into the first round. I don't really see that happening, but does he go in the second? Does he sneak into early day 3 post ACL tear? I think the talent is so good that I'd expect no, but it's hard to predict how players fall in the draft or don't with injury concerns, injury history, or current injuries. And I would call rehabbing from an ACL tear a current injury. That's currently what he's doing. So whether or not he's good to go for rookie minicamp, we'll see. I think the reports say it's looking pretty good. Preseason, week 1, all these things. But he's not going to be high on every team's board. That's for sure. Giants at 37. I like the idea of Emmanuel Pregnon here. And I think these guards, Pregnon and Basantis, could end up going inside the first round. Everybody needs guard. So if you're a team like, let's say, the Patriots, Dolphins, depending on what happens, at the top of the draft, obviously had Fano, which would be playing guard right away in this scenario, I suppose. You have the Texans, of course. You have the Bills after losing David Edwards, right? You still have the Browns potentially needing guard, even after paying Zion Johnson. Eagles still too. Like, there are a lot of teams that need guard. When you get to the second round, Jets are in that conversation as well, in my opinion. But maybe with Parham, you decide to wait on that. I think the Cardinals still very much could. The Titans for sure could. I think the Raiders still could consider it. Giants, obviously. But Pregnon is going to be a plug-and-play starter at right guard. You want to go power run? Pregnon's the way to it. And I will go Chase Basantis for the Texans. Like, you're hoping Wyatt Teller can bounce back to his all-pro self. However, if he doesn't, and you still need depth anyway, you're an injury away from another disaster. I know you need center, but Basantis here can compete to play guard and start right away. Compete, but this is really more of a pick for the future. Like, after Wyatt Teller, if he only ends up playing 1 year, maybe he's not even that good. Ed Ingram, maybe Basantis can play some right guard and step in there. Maybe you even like him at center, even though he's really just a left guard. There's, a possibility of any guard moving inside the center. I mean, we see that happen a lot. Obviously, you'd like maybe a true center, and I think the Texans will have the opportunity to do that a bit later, because this pick is not their only one that's actually fairly high in this draft. If you go to look at the Texans draft picks, they have 59, 69 via the Giants at the top of the third round, and 106. One of these picks could very easily be a center at 59 or 69. So I think Basantis is one of the best guys you can get here. It's at a really valuable position for them, in my opinion. It's kind of a no-brainer, even if he's not a plug-and-play starter right this second. Browns at 39. I'm going to go with a player I like quite a bit here, and that is Chris Johnson. Now, I think tackle could still be in play. You're looking at right tackle. I mean, Ian Nachor kind of stands out there, but Chris Johnson, I think, could very much improve their cornerback room, which is a little bit weak, lacking depth in general. Johnson is a really good player. I think he can play on the outside and hang there. He's got decent size, and I think there's a chance he could go in the first round. So not an awful pick here for Cleveland at 39 as we get to the Kansas City Chiefs at 40. Man, I haven't going with a receiver. I might want to pivot. I mean, Ian Nachor is just kind of sticking out. But I will keep the pick the same. I'm going to go Jeremy Bernard. I think he's a good fit here in Kansas City. He's a very willing blocker. He's another reliable option. He catches the ball extremely well. He's decent after the catch. He's a wide receiver 2. So this is not, and not that you're going to find a ton of these guys in the second round or beyond. Not necessarily going to be that big-time X receiver. And I know you have Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, but Jeremy Bernard is another good option. And when Rashee Rice inevitably misses games with a suspension or whatever he's getting into, Bernard can come in and just catch the football, which I think is something the Chiefs receivers have shown a real inability to do in recent years. They're just not consistent enough at all. So Bernard is, I think, a high floor player that can come in and just compete for reps right away. Will he be a guy that catches 100 balls a year? Certainly not right away, but he could build to that. But really more of a 40 to 60 catch type of guy. I think you're pretty happy with that, if that's what Bernard can do. Bengals at 41. I've talked about it. I don't know what to do with these interior defensive linemen. I'm going Peter Woods at 41. Is he going to be available when teams like Tennessee, even after getting John Franklin Myers, but the Cardinals for sure, the Raiders, the Giants, the Texans if they don't in the first round. The Chiefs still could, even with bringing in Tunga. You have Omar Norman Lott, obviously Chris Jones. But where do these interior defensive linemen go? It's really tough to say. Certainly a big position of need for Cincinnati. Woods has big time potential. Like he has the potential to be a top 10 player in this class. He falls to 41. It's kind of a no-brainer for Cincinnati. Just you're looking for him to play better than he did in 2025. That's it. Saints at 42. Going to go CJ Allen. You lose your green dot player, Demario Davis, Mike linebacker, all-pro, all-world. What a player he was. You need a replacement. CJ Allen happens to fall here to 42. And I don't think that's out of the question, even though this is another guy that could go in the first round. Somebody's got to fall, right? Somebody has to. Potentially even multiple somebodies. Allen here is a no-brainer at 42, in my opinion. Dolphins at 43. This maybe is a little bit high, but I think you look at Jeff Hafley's defense, you look at the ball skills, you look at the size. I like Traden Stukes here. I think he's a great player. Had a great 2025. He's a bigger body. He moves really well. I think if Hafley wants to play press man, which that's kind of been his thing at times, I think Stukes can do that. And press bail, obviously, as well. He's a bigger bodied guy with very good athleticism and movement skills. Like it's tough to find these guys. So does it seem a bit early when he's being drafted over D'Angelo Pons? I think it's just a better fit for the system. Keith Abney, Keontae Scott. Like, we're not trying to get a nickel here. And that's what might happen for Pons and Scott and Rivers, right? But Stukes can hang on the outside, could potentially even play safety as well, could play the nickel, but I'd try him at boundary corner. And I can't say that for a lot of these players here. Do I really think Davison Igbinosun is going to be a top 50 pick? That's what it'll come down to, because he fits the mold of what Jeff Hafley likes at corner, I believe. But will that be the pick at 43? I like Traden Stukes. I'm elevating him. I really do like Keontae Scott. Like, I like a lot of these defensive backs, but it's tough to get them all into the second round of a mock draft. Jets at 44. Speak of the devil, I'm going D'Angelo Pons. Why? Could be just the best player here. They need corner, and Pons is awesome. This could be a starter in the nickel for the next 10 years for the Jets. Obviously, you'd have to be talking about a contract extension in there, maybe even multiple, but I think he's so good. Why is he even available at 44? I think he could fall way past this, by the way, but he is 5'9". I think he's up to like 180 pounds maybe, but he is short and light. Those guys don't go that high. But at this point, it starts to not matter as much. You look at where Brian Branch went. You look at where Cooper DeJean went. Bigger players, by the way, than D'Angelo Pons. But Pons is so good. So it's tough for me to say this is not a player that's going to go in this range because he's so good. But historically speaking, his size may prevent him from being a top 50 or maybe even a top 75 player, even though I really like him. But we'll see. The NFL doesn't always care. Like if they view him as a sole nickel, which is, I think, going to be the case for a lot of teams, the NFL has proven they don't value that. That's why Brian Branch went at 44 or 45, wherever it was. That's why Cooper DeJean went way outside the first round. And they've proven to be good players in the NFL, but the NFL says we don't really care. We're going to keep not taking these guys high. So I kind of got to base it off that. Ravens at 45. Went with Kenyon Sadiq at 14. D-line is still a big need. Edge and interior. But I'm going to go Keelan Rutledge because I think he's awesome. Hadn't watched him pre-combine, and he really stood out to me with his movement abilities, and the tape's very good too. At 6'4", 330. Plug-and-play starter at left guard. You have John Simpson at right guard. Center's still going to be a need. But you can go out and upgrade center. You look at the Ravens picks, and it is probably better to show it from this side just based on where these picks show up. Ravens have 80 and 115. If you told me at pick 80 that Logan Jones was there, or Jake Slaughter, or Connor Lew, or Trey Zune, wherever he is listed on this board, I'm not seeing him. Am I blind? Or is Trey Zune not here? Okay, listed at tackle. He's expected to move inside. I think one of those guys to compete for a starting job at center will be there at 80. So we go with a guard here. I recognize also that you need interior D-line with injuries, and a lot of them are still here, but the Banks injury stuff is scary, and I question the upside of some of these guys. And then off the edge, like if you're looking for a true designated pass rusher type, I think R. Mason Thomas could go even higher than this. Same thing with Akis and Moore, and maybe even deny Dennis Sutton, right? But like Barham's an interesting one. I gotta figure out a way to get some of these guys into this draft here on the fly, but there are options down the board for pass rush. Are they going to be the complete package? Not necessarily, but maybe you think that Mike Green takes a step up. I mean, playing a bit of a dangerous game there, but Keelan Rutledge is my guy here at 45. Bucks at 46. I'm so high on this player that I'm going to get him here even over some of the other edge rushers if we wanted to do that. But I think it's just such a good fit here. I'm going with Jake Galday from Cincinnati. He's got great size. He's got great movement skills. He's good in coverage. He's good against the run. Played a kind of a weird role at Cincinnati, but he's somebody that I think could be your Mike linebacker in the NFL. And based on what the Bucks have there, you bring in Alex Anzalone. That's great. Levante David, I still think is not on a team. And you have Servassier Dennis. You need help at linebacker. Jake Galday is such a good player. Levante David retired today, by the way. So there you go. Colts at 47, back-to-back linebackers. I'm going to go Jacob Rodriguez, and I think after his showing this offseason, teams are going to run out of reasons to not take him top 50. The athleticism is there. The playmaking ability is there. The guy catches picks, forces fumbles, makes tackles. He's not the perfect linebacker prospect, but the production is incredible. A little bit older, but I think he's going to check a lot of boxes for this Colts team and Chris Ballard. Falcons at 48. We're going to go with a big field stretching wide receiver, and that's Chris Brazzell over Chris Bell. I look at the Falcons team. Brazzell's an interesting player. Tennessee, doesn't run a complete route tree. The classic Tennessee receiver, tall, not that heavy. He moves a little bit different than the other guys, and he catches the ball outside of his frame. He's a little bit more interesting to me than some of the other Tennessee receivers we've seen. And if I'm looking for somebody that can space and stretch the field to let Drake London eat if he's going to be in the slot, and Kyle Pitts, I think Brazzell is not a bad option for what this offense can do. And if Penix is your guy at quarterback, which, wow, he thrived at Washington by throwing the ball down the field to receivers that could go up and outside their frame and catch it. That could be a good fit. Not that accurate. Vikings at 49. Gonna go Caleb Banks, and this is a little bit of a, oh no, potentially injury-prone Florida interior defensive lineman. If you know, you know. Sharif Floyd, unfortunately. But at 49, I think it's worth the shot. Jonathan Allen, gone. Javon Hargrave, gone. Banks has big-time upside. And it's just too much to pass up here at 49 for like a 6'6", 330-pound defensive tackle that moves the way he does. Lions at 50. Staying in state. Going Derek Moore. It's worked before. Michigan edge to the Lions. I really like Moore than a lot of other people, I guess, because I think he is a top 50 player pretty comfortably. He's got NFL size at 6'3", 260. He can rush the passer. He can defend the run. I think he fits the frame of the edge that the Lions typically covet. You lose Al-Qadim Muhammad, you need more. Panthers at 51. This is interesting. I had Eli Stowers here because I think tight end's in play for Carolina. And even though I'm not like the biggest Eli Stowers guy, I'm actually going to change with Maxi Iheanacho on the board because you bring in Rasheed Walker on a 1-year deal. Aquanu, contract's coming up, and the injury stuff, and Taylor Moton's not getting any younger. Like, could Maxi Iheanacho be starting at right tackle sooner rather than later and be your long-term guy? He's not pressured to start right away, can develop him, and then jump in. I mean, his athleticism is unbelievable, and he was a Senior Bowl guy that dominated. The sky is the limit with him. Whether or not he reaches it, maybe a bit of a different question. Packers at 52. Man, Kristen Miller's like such a Packer if he's here, and he's here. That's kind of the quandary I'm dealing with right now, because I also think their cornerback room is so bad. That's the problem. I'm going to go Kristen Miller here. The Packers love these Georgia defenders, and Kristen Miller's pretty good, and it's a position of need for Green Bay. You look at the expiring contracts, their current depth. Miller's a good player. He's got true NFL size at like 310. He can get to the quarterback a little bit. He's good against the run. Could go higher than this. It's just a good pick at 52, I think. Steelers at 53. I had Max Iheanacho. He is no longer on the board. And the other tackle options are not amazing. So this gets a little bit tough. Went guard early. I think this is going to be the new Chris Bell spot. I think even after acquiring Michael Pittman Jr., this is still a need. And I think Chris Bell is in that DK Metcalf type of mold where he's big and strong and can get down the field, but is way better after the catch. And he's kind of built like a big running back. And pre-injury, this guy was awesome. So we'll see what happens, coming back from injury. But I love Chris Bell as a player. I think receiver still could be upgraded. And Chris Bell is a really fun option. Eagles at 54. Gonna go R. Mason Thomas, another guy I think could go a lot higher than this, but I think he's like truly a designated pass rusher type. So it's like, when do you take a guy like this? The Eagles are looking for more pass rush. Enter R. Mason Thomas after losing Jalen Phillips. At 55, have the Chargers. I had Kristen Miller here. He's no longer available. Now, we could pivot to another interior defensive lineman. I don't hate that. Guard, I think, is still in play. Potentially center as well. But you look at interior offensive lineman, it's not great. I like Billy Schrouth. Sam Hecht is a good player. But you brought in Biotish. I don't know if you're desperate for a center. And that's kind of where the value is. Jalen Farmer, not a bad option either. I mean, there are a lot of decent centers. Like Matt Golban, not awful down the board. But I think we're going to continue building up front and go with an interior defensive lineman. And yeah, I think the best option here is Lee Hunter. He's got very good size. And if you're looking for a space eater on that interior, like, this is the guy. And he can offer maybe a little bit of pass rush as well. Jags at 56. Tough to get these linebackers off the board, but this is a spot for one. I'm going Anthony Hill. I think he's such a great fit in this defense. You can really use him in so many different ways and really attack. And that's what the Jags have done. Anthony Campanile is a guy that might like a different Anthony Hill, because you can just get this guy working downhill as a blitzer. I think he's got some real potential off the ball. And at 56, it's just good value for a guy that could go in the first, even though maybe he doesn't. It's a good linebacker class. Like, it really is. Between Hill and Kyle Lewis and Josiah Trotter, I like a lot. Deontay Lawson's really stood out. A lot of people like Bryce Betcher. I mean, down the board, it gets a little bit tougher to find some of these guys that are really, really fun. Elarm Zor is kind of a versatile guy that's rushed off the edge and played linebacker. Trey Moore, kind of the same deal. I don't really want to touch in Harold Perkins too much because I don't have very much nice to say, but he's a great athlete that as a sub-package player could be valuable. It's just like, when do you take that type of a guy? Anthony Hill, I think, is fun in this defense. Bears at 57, and you lost Devin Lloyd. Bears at 57, maybe a bit early, but I'm really considering a center here. I think the thing that stops me from doing it at 57 is going out to get Garrett Bradbury. And that D-line is a mess. We're going to keep Gabe Akis in state and try to add some big-time pass rush here off the edge. Niners at 58. Had Blake Miller falling all the way here, and of course the 49ers are not going to pass on that. But that's not an option right now. 49ers are really showing interest in adding receiver like Casey Concepcion or Denzel Boston. I passed on both to take Malachi Lawrence, who might not even end up being a first-round pick. And maybe they go edge down the board with one of these, designated pass rusher types. But I kind of like the receivers that are here. And it's tough to know who's going to go the highest of all these guys. But it's a really good opportunity to at least mention Ted Hurst, who I really like. Now, is he going to end up going ahead of Malachi Fields or Skylar Bell, maybe not even Deshaun Stribling? It's hard to say, but I think his combination of size and speed and ball skills is really, really fun. So, maybe the Niners fans are not going to be so happy about taking a player from Georgia State and UCF, maybe a little bit earlier than they're expected to go. But these are tools, very toolsy prospects. Super athletes with very good size and potential, and I trust that they're going to the right organization for their development. Ted Hurst is the pick at 58 for me, and who better to learn from than Mike Evans? And maybe offers him a bit more consistency. Is it a little bit early? Yeah, it might be. But there are a bunch of really good receivers in this class. It's how do you rank them? I don't have Bryce Lance this high. I think Antonio Williams is good. I don't have Elijah Surratt this high. But we'll see. There's some good receivers in this class. Texans at 59. I'm going to go with a center. I had Logan Jones here. Does he end up going ahead of Hecht and Lou and Slaughter? Maybe not. I'm a big Logan Jones guy. I'm getting him off the board early. I think his combination of tape, movement skills, athleticism, I think he's going to be a multi-year starter in the NFL. I really, really like him as a player. Can't go wrong with an Iowa offensive lineman. Unless it's Jennings Dunker. No, he's a fine player, I'm sure. But I really like Logan Jones. I think he's a plug-and-play starter at center. That's what the Texans are looking for. Yeah, maybe you prefer Connor Lew coming off the injury, or Sam Hecht, Jake Slaughter, Trey Zune at center. But I'm going Logan Jones today. Bears at 60. I actually had Gabe Akis here, but this is a good opportunity to go interior defensive line. We're looking for a little bit more pass rush. And Grayson Halton could be the way to find it. They do need to improve their run stopping, though. And they also need to improve safety. But if you look back, we got Emmanuel McNeil-Warren at 25. So could this be the opportunity to go center behind Bradbury? It could be. But I like interior D-line here as well. Do I go Big Citrus? Do we go Rayshon Benny and try to capitalize on the potential? There are options. They brought in Neville Gallimore. Give me Big Citrus. Let's get him off the board. It's an interesting player. Bears have done well with Iowa State guys before. Look at David Montgomery. He's gigantic. He's a space eater. He's got the best nickname in the draft. And I think if you're looking to stop the run and improve the pass rush, you've done that at 57 and 60 here in different ways. Rams at 61. I still come back to linebacker for this team. Watch Omar Spates play. I feel like it needs to be upgraded. And Kyle Lewis has some really good movement skills, so he could be a good fit. But I really like Josiah Trotter. He's only a redshirt sophomore, and he's great against the run, developing in coverage for sure. But he's still such a young player. Son, of course, of Jeremiah Trotter. He's a pretty awesome linebacker with the Eagles for a number of years. I think Josiah is so good. I think the potential is untapped. And I think he's going to go early with his combination of age and ability against the run. As we get to the Broncos at 62. Would have been a good fit for them. Would have been a really good fit for them. I had Lee Hunter to the Broncos earlier. You'll note he is not on the board. But if you're looking to upgrade your pass rush from the interior, Grayson Halton's not a bad idea here. But I am going to go with Rayshon Benny. You lose John Franklin Myers. It's going to be tough to replace him. Benny has the prototypical interior defensive lineman, like 3-tech size. I don't know that you can say the same about Halton, who's closer to like 280, even though has a ton of juice. Could be a fun rotational player. But Rayshon Benny has the potential to develop into being a starter. Maybe 62 is a bit earlier for him, but these interior defensive linemen are flying off the board here in the second round. I had them sitting around for a while, and they're starting to go as we get to the Patriots at 63. Some good players still here. Keontae Scott feels like such a Seahawk, but it's not going to happen at that spot. I mean, there's so many players here I want to talk about that I think would be really good fits that could go in the second round, and a lot of them are just here. I mean, they're players that I like. Dalen Everett I can't talk about, but because he's not going to go here in this draft, but I love Dalen Everett. I think he's going to end up being a very good pro, and I think he's going to be very good value down the board. But is that in the second round? Maybe not. I think for the Patriots at 63, I'm going to go Jennings Dunker, and probably at guard. I think that gives the Patriots a little bit of flexibility, and he is maybe just the best offensive lineman available for this team. A lot of the top tackles are off the board, and maybe he's got the flexibility to play some right tackle, but he's going to be an NFL guard, in my opinion. I'm not really looking to draft a center because we have Jared Wilson. Not really looking to do that if I'm the Patriots. I say we, but obviously thinking about it in the Patriots' shoes. And then the Seahawks at 64. The current hype is him in the first round, but I've got Jadarian Price here at 64. I just don't see him as a first-round pick. It could happen. Totally get that. But I like him a lot more at 64 than I do at 32. However, could that mean a lot of these teams that could decide on a running back, maybe they like Jadarian Price before 64? Yeah, that's an option. Just you go through some of these teams that could use running back and think they've got other more pressing needs and players that I probably prefer at those spots. Like, is Jadarian Price the pick at 35? I don't necessarily think so, but the Titans are potentially a running back team, as are the Texans, as are, who else? I mean, maybe the Bengals could be, right? But there are just not a lot of teams here that I think could go running back that high. A lot of them have a guy or two, right? Minnesota at 49 is a spot. Maybe even Detroit now with getting rid of David Montgomery. Could use a change of pace guy. But anyway, that's the 2-round mock draft. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.